This episode of the Grand Rising Show was brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. Autochthonous Assembly is a gathering of the minds that do the work. Now, for many of our first-time subscribers and first-time visitors, you may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly are. You can find this information about our mission statement and our core values on the website at autochthonousassembly.com/about. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous American voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, or your family tree, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Our core values are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serve as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. Those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right; respect, which is treating others the way you want to be treated; responsibility, which is embracing opportunities to contribute; and servant leadership, which is serving the common good. Now, at Autochthonous Assembly, we have a couple of goals here. And our first goal and foremost of the reason why we do everything that we do is to ensure that we help you do your genealogy and connect back to your tribe and find out where you are from. Everything that we do from the standpoint of the Grand Rising Show and all the information that's posted on the website is dedicated to that one specific purpose, helping you find your genealogy, find your relatives, find your family so that you will know exactly who you are. And if you choose to, tie back into your tribe, whether that tribe is a Native American tribe, an American Indian tribe, whether it's allowing you to determine which house in Africa that you belong to, or what clan of Scandinavia or Europe or France that you belong to. Either way, our goal is to do just that, help you find out who you are so you know exactly where to start. We are not here to tell you who you are, and we're not here to tell you who you are not. We're just here to help you discover your beginnings. Another one of our missions is to help you become financially independent so that you can help your generations for the next 7 generations and be able to put a stable foundation for you and your relatives. And if you should choose to use this information that we provide free of charge to help not only yourself, but your community and your tribe, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that gets done as well. And remember, our goal here is to make sure that we help you get exposed to this information to put you in the best situation possible. So now what I'm going to do now is return it back over to the panel to see if there was anything I missed, and I will go ahead and get set up so we can get ready and get digging into this information. Panel, take it away.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
Grand Rising, everyone. Peace, peace, peace. Hope all is well. Hope everyone had a very enjoyable night.
Grand Rising.
So how's your rising?
So far, so good. Definitely not complaining.
Know that feeling. What they say, only when you do, nobody listen.
And if you can complain about it, you could do something about it.
Yep. So what did you think about last night's premiere?
Which one? So the first one, I definitely needed to rehear that one. And the things that were talked about, because there were some links that I needed to pull up. And the second one, that one was really interesting to get things explained in more detailed. Because with the reading and talking, it it was a real bomb dropper.
It was one of those where you drop that somewhere where somebody ain't know no better, and they actually listen to it and look at it. Yeah, they might be deleting their whole Facebook pages. All traces of anti-American Indian.
Right.
Like, some of this information is just hidden and people just don't see it because it's not mainstream. Like, brown people don't see other brown people. Around this time, well, yeah, the last 3 years is my first time ever seeing videos like Warhorse videos, interviews of dudes from Virginia, Lenny Lenapes, and I never viewed no American Indian videos ever in my life. Never seen no American Indian interviews. So I don't understand. I mean, I can understand why some of these people are still going to be indoctrinated and lost, because it's their first time seeing this for real, and somebody's actually bringing it to them. Nope. It wasn't brought to me. I found it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I found American Indian information just by being in the same, I guess, realm as other people. But yeah, it's to see an American Indian that looks like an uncle of ours talking about what he's talking about, and it's not like it's the first time we ever heard it. It's just, I'm thinking about the people who have never heard this before, who aren't even thinking American Indian. Forget the people who are thinking American Indian and just need a confirmation, like, oh yeah, that's dope, I got confirmation. Here go one again. We got a few chiefs and a doctor. That's still not reaching a lot of people. There's millions of people who don't know what the hell is going on. The census is this year, and there's millions of people who have no idea what that man looks like. They have no idea what any American Indian looks like that wears regalia, or that is proud to be an American Indian, or that walks around with a headdress on, or anything. They don't know. I ain't seen that shit in 3 years. 3 years of American Indian information, and my first time seeing it is when I got into the American Indian information. That's kind of crazy. That's crazy horse. That's crazy horse. That is, he has crazy horses. Goddamn.
We're live.
Are we?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't tell me.
You don't.
I did.
I'm going on a rant.
Good time.
Say it louder. I'm live and I'm proud. If I'm going on a, oh my god, y'all ain't even say Grand Rising Double Cousin. Now y'all just let me come in the room.
You
I didn't
came
hear
and
it.
saw we said Grand Rising to the
Nope.
chat.
Dang.
I heard.
You came in to speak every time we were speaking to the chat.
See, it's y'all are so. I'm so comfortable with y'all. I'm getting off the phone. I said what I had. I done said what I done had to say today. I am going on mute forever. Peace, y'all.
Listen, you need pride.
Grand Rising. Grand Rising.
When he came in the conversation, I was like, dang, he been in the room the whole time?
I thought, you know what? I thought he heard. My defense, double cousin, I did say it twice this time.
That's messed up. If it was y'all, I would have helped y'all.
No, I did say it twice. The first bomb, I said, we live.
No, that's not how you do it though. That's if you want me to stop cussing and you want me to realize that we live.
Well, when I said it, we live the first time.
See that? You say, hey, we live, and then I would stop cussing. But we live. I'm sorry, but excuse me.
Nature's Void is bringing the bus for you.
Excuse me.
Nature's Void is coming by with the bus.
I hope so. You too.
What?
So timid. Why are you so timid to tell somebody they live when they cussing? You can't do that.
I wasn't, honestly, I really didn't think, like, I heard the 10-second countdown. I was like, oh, wait, okay, I thought we had 10 minutes. We don't. Okay, I'm ready. So I just thought you were staying quiet because you were.
I wasn't in here. I just got in. Y'all ain't hear the ding dong while y'all was talking? You was answering.
No, I didn't hear the ding dong.
That's what I'm saying. It sounded like you were answering a personal off the air question. And then he said, what'd you think about the video? I didn't know. But like I said, you cannot be timid. You did that last time and I didn't know. You said 3 times we was live. So what that tell you? That means I ain't here. That means I don't understand. When am I here?
I'll say it louder and more forceful.
Okay, I appreciate it. This is number 2.
And I'm still getting blamed.
Because you haven't told me we was live. How can you stop me from cussing? Tell me how you gonna
okay, well, think about it like this. It's 8:25. This is Bones.
Nope. Hey, look,
8:20.
we didn't have technical difficulties outside of Bones' hands. We done started late even with Bones.
He's true. However,
he played by ear being all silent. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this seems like a personal conversation. We might not be. Maybe I'm just gonna start asking. We live? Is we live right now? For sure. Chat. I can't believe that.
oh,
I got a new enemy.
oh no. I get blamed.
Because we live. Excuse me, we live, sir. Excuse me. You sound like the lady from Police
I will say it. It threw me off. Like, wait, okay, he did it again. Wait, okay, we live.
The lady from Police Academy. When you tell me,
excuse me. Don't do that. Stop it.
no,
Oh no.
don't do that to me. I'm turned up. It's Friday. Got my armpit sweating. I'm about to go spray some lime juice. I'm going on mute. That is key lime juice for under your armpit for your deodorant needs, family. I got a question. Gabrielle, do you remember what I said and how many times I cussed?
You cursed twice. You said the S word and the D word.
Okay. Those are actually FCC approved, so I'm okay. As long as I didn't Mickey Ficky. I actually blacked out. I don't know what I said, so I can't wait to hear this again. But I was feeling it. Appreciate the question, Bones. Peace of chat.
No, I feel you though. I mean, there's a lot of us who've never heard the information. And check this part out. That interview is from 2012.
Yeah, that ain't no 1999.
Okay, I will say this. In 2012, there's a lot of videos and a lot of information that has been out, as Doodoo Vision has said, for a while. There is a lot of information that I started reading and watching maybe like 4 years ago, but to see that, okay, this is 2012 or even before 2012, it's really like, wait a minute, if being that this is out there, how is it that other people aren't catching on to this? Or did they catch it and dismiss it? Or, what? It brought up a couple of, or several questions on, this has been out here for a while.
Mm-hmm. But then again, like you were saying, a lot of it we don't know about because of the created racism, the colorism. And it's like how we mentioned before, that situation will cause families to alienate each other, don't associate with each other, because in order for them to keep what they had they had to identify with this colorism.
Right.
And it shows on something that we have been researching for a minute now, that there was many different individuals that came to America during these times that were considered people of color. Back in the 1700s, early 1800s, Italians were people of color.
Yep.
Jews were people of color. Irish were considered people of color. Some of your Germans were considered people of color.
Yep.
So if all these people at one time were pushed in the category as Negroes and people of color, again, who is who? And we've always said when you do genealogy, if it says white, black, whatever in that category, disregard that. Because 9 out of 10, it's not factual. It's up to somebody else's determination. And then when they let it be known that these U.S. Marshals, they got paid by how many people that they reported as Negro. So ask yourself.
Say that one more time, please.
That the U.S. Marshals, the enumerators,
They're enumerators, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they got paid more for registering people and signing them up as Negroes. So if your pay is determined on how many Negroes you bring back, come on now, let's be honest. Put yourself in that situation. Everybody brings back as a Negro. In that type of situation.
Right.
And also to our American Indian brothers and sisters and our different tribal members, it's also letting us know about a conversation that has been long overdue amongst our family members. This racism and colorism that made our family split. That it has to be addressed because that's what they used against us to separate us, to get us off our land.
Yes, sir.
Because what did he tell you? Tribes had to start identifying being more and more white, because if you had dark skin, they said you wasn't an Indian. To the point some of these tribes got so strict that they blocked themselves out. What he told you about the one set of tribes? They basically wrote themselves out of history.
Oh,
because they done made it so hard to be a member that they not even considered Indians no more.
Yep.
That the actual Indians are no longer the Indians no more.
Come on now.
I mean, so yeah, it's a neat conversation amongst our tribal members, is that they know that the colorism split up the tribes. They know that the colorism got us in these situations. So it's time for us to start putting the petty stuff away and sit down to the table to fix it. Because if we can fix it as a family, tribal members, we can fix it as a family, then we can address everything else. But if we have our own issues that's keeping us separated, and as long as we separate it, it allows outside forces to dictate how far we can go, then we got an issue.
Ain't that how it started anyway? I mean, we was already warring against each other. It's like the third party is like waiting.
The instigator.
Waiting.
You know that old thing, baddest one hit my hand? You slap the person and then the person slap you.
Ooh.
But then you fight the person that didn't slap you, not realizing the instigator hit both of you and got away.
Got it. Come on now.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, it was
under the sun.
A whole lot of useful information. And that you can also see if you realize on the stage, both of them were Indians. One very light, one dark skin. And they're both telling you the same thing, that this colorism is what destroyed us.
I'm trying to figure out who out here throwing whole family members away, because last time I checked, somebody down somebody's line is mixed or lighter complexion or any of the above on earth right now. So
down the line,
throwing members away. No, I'm not bad. I ain't even mean down the line, Bone. Right now, you throwing in-laws away. You throwing cousins away. Who you throwing away? First of all, who asked you to throw anybody away?
And what we'll tell you, our ancestors rather make a relative than be strangers in war. That was our ancestral ways. A lot of us are like that to this day. Yeah, again, much needed information. And hopefully it'll start opening up the eyes to many more people so we can start having these conversations. They're needed amongst our community. Because as long as we don't have these conversations, it allows them to keep putting two sides of one family against each other. Ain't that something? Get these rising shout outs out the way so we can continue. Grand Rising to Big Nelsa, Feathered Dragon, Michael Brown Harris Cheek, Mr. TJ, Phoenix Rose. On Twitch, we have Nature's Void, Powerton 9, and that's all I see who's in the room at the moment. Oh, Grand Rising, Judge Frida. Go in peace, cuz. Hope all is well. Hope you're feeling much better. And as everyone else come in, we'll catch you. I mean, any more thoughts on both premieres from yesterday, or part 2 of Walter Plecker?
Just a reiteration. It was much needed. I mean, we have everyday conversations, not just conversations, interactions, and the things that we currently, right now, well, not right this second, but just in general, we have current interactions. We say things and don't realize how far back the things that we say and do, how far back and how rooted it is in why we do it. And not to say that everyone, is just careless in what they say and careless in what they do. Not to say that, but some things we don't even realize we're doing or saying until it's called out or until it's checked, if that makes sense. Just something, whether it's descriptive. I mean, and I say this because I was thinking about what I was, when we were talking last night, and I was like, dang, I wonder if when someone was describing someone else, were they saying not their physical features as far as their complexion, but okay, who are you speaking about, or who are you referencing to? Did they call them, or did they refer to them by, were they Indian? Were they Jew? Were they, what did they refer to them in that way versus, again, that light skin, that dark skin, or that hair, or those eyes, if that makes sense.
Grand Rising Pamela Hall. And then he pointed out something that's very important. One of the major problems with our story, this revisionist history, this point to where they go back and they change words that wasn't even used at that time to call themselves being politically correct. But what does that do? It distorts the actual story.
It does. I mean, even now when we read, we'll read something, pull something online, and it's using current political correct, so to speak, terms, but it distorts even now with pulling things. I realized, I was like, okay, I have to actually get the original book, or a copy of the original book, or the original thing, a copy of the original thing, because what I'm pulling, the way it's reading on, in digital form, it's using current terminology, which is changing not just the narrative, but also the understanding of how something was 100, 200, 300, and so on and so forth years ago.
It's just like trying to go back and change the terminology of person of color or Negro to African American.
Right.
But when you do that, it distorts the history, because every person labeled as a person of color did not come from Africa. Some of them were already here. Some came from Europe and different land masses. That's what I always say, when you read something, research what you reading. See if it's a revised edition.
Yeah.
And if you can't, do your best to get your hands on the original writing. And he also spoke on something that we are very adamant about. It's becoming the collectors of all records and storing them.
Come on now.
Making copies of them.
Notarizing it.
Mm-hmm. So moving forward, the ups and downs that we had to go through to get this information, future generations don't have to do the same. That we can start collecting these records so our future generations can always find out who they are, always pull this information. So again, on your journey, document everything, copy everything. I mean, it's your life. It's that important, especially when you can see people are changing things. Files are mysteriously becoming missing. Mysterious fires are breaking out all over the place. I mean, so yeah, it's very critical.
Heavy information.
Posted a link for this rising in both chats. Another interesting one, tying into everything we've been doing so far. Basically, race and eugenics, the history on it.
Oh, I'm with it. The first one. The big one.
Yeah.
PBS NewsHour. PBS NewsHour. Man, that's public broadcasting station. That's public. When y'all click the link, turn to your neighbor, say, I got it. Shout out to Friday. Shout out to y'all. Gabrielle, is you ready?
Yeah. Want me to read first?
We can rush him, but how long is this? No, I feel like my half is on the bottom of me.
Okay, how about I read the first paragraph and then you read the second?
All right. Can you read the description of that photo as well?
Okay, yes.
Photo at the top of the article for the folks who are not viewing not viewing right now. So yeah.
Okay. PBS News Hour. A sign that reads "Stop," placed near a barbed wire, is seen at the concentration camp during a ceremony making the 68th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz by Soviet troops and to remember the victims of the Holocaust in Auschwitz-Birkenau. Reuter's Peter Andrews. Wait, that's still standing?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Empty?
Mm-hmm.
Like a museum?
Where the American slave quarters at though?
Man, it ain't none.
Well, technically, when I was living in South Carolina, I went to this place in Charleston. It's like a plantation museum. And they let you walk around the property, walk into the houses. They haven't turned down the houses, the original houses, the beds and how everyone slept, which definitely depicts it gives you a different visual from what's portrayed in movies and other stories. Just saying. Okay, reading. Column, The False Racist Theory of Eugenics Once Ruled Science. Let's Never Let It Happen Again, by Dr. Howard Markel. February 16th, 2018. Okay. Warning, this post contains explicit language. Okay. When President Donald Trump, frustrated during a bipartisan immigration meeting in the White House, reportedly asked last month why the U.S. was protecting immigrants from poop hole countries, he appeared to.
Should have read it.
You would have.
FCC approved. Nah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I apologize, y'all. No cussing.
He appeared to be privileging the immigration status, if not the biology of some people from certain lands. It harkens back to an era when race mattered a great deal in terms of one's status, rights, and opportunities, all to our nation's social detriment.
Yeah, hold that part right there. It harkens back to an era when race mattered a great deal. It mattered a great deal in what? In terms of one's status and rights and opportunities. If that's not telling you what the whole category of race was created for, it determines one's status, rights, and opportunities. We can continue.
Between the late 1890s and the late 1930s, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean were obsessed with the future of their country's gene pool and how different immigrants might taint it.
One more time again? I mean, what?
Between the late 1890s between the late 1890s and the late 1930s, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean were obsessed with the future of their country's gene pool and how different immigrants might taint it.
And this is the years 1890 to 1930s, where you get the Anglo-Saxon Club of America, other white supremacist groups, the next reiteration to go back to Africa movements.
They were actually started in other places and then expanded here. Supporting these fears was a theoretical framework called eugenics, first proposed in 1883 by Sir Francis Galton, the British polymath and naturalist, and a pioneer in many other fields such as meteorology, psychology, and anthropometrics. Anthropometrics. What is that?
Study, if I remember correctly, the study of measurements through time.
Okay. So, what's a naturalist? I don't want to assume I know this definition and it means something else.
Google it.
Hey, yeah, you can Google that.
I'm asking Google.
If you use Google.
But wait, I would need to know the definition for the 1800s. What naturalist?
Naturalist is just an expert or student on natural history. A person who practices naturalism and the art of literature.
Adherents of naturalism asserts that natural laws are the rules that govern the structure and behavior of.
That's naturalism. That's a different definition.
Oh, okay.
Naturalist and naturalism are two different definitions.
Oh, art and literature. My bad. Okay. So now I'm confused. What's a polymath?
A polymorph, a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning.
So hold on.
I mean, no different than today. These self-proclaimed scholars. That's it.
That's what I'm tripping off of. Like these, okay. And meteorology, that has everything to do with weather patterns and all that, right?
Uh-huh.
Psychology with the psyche. So this is someone who is being recognized as being knowledgeable in literature and art, knowledge, weather, psyche.
Yeah. And anthropometric is the study of human body measurements. At its most basics, anthropometrics is used to help scientists and anthropologists understand physical variations among humans.
Man, this is crazy. All right, I'm reading.
Basically, saying that they came up because you can get variations in height and weight in all human beings.
Right. Galton the Younger, first cousin of Charles Darwin, who played.
Don't slip past that. He was the cousin.
Charles Darwin.
She tried to get in the door without touching the handle. Hold up.
For real, I saw that. I saw the head. I was like, oh no.
So now you know where the influence came from. He's the first cousin, not second, third, fourth, or fifth. The first cousin of Charles Darwin.
Oh, that means their mamas and dads. Somebody was brother and sister, or
yes, they brother and sister.
Yeah. So they aunts and uncles were siblings.
Like in all cases.
Huh. Who played an outsized role in influencing Sir Francis' education and intellectual life? What's an outsized role?
Well, outside means exceptionally large. Instead of saying huge, they give you this fancy word. Yeah.
Right.
Basically saying he played an exceptionally large role.
Right. Was born on this day in 1822. We come today not to praise Francis Galton, but to bury him along with his faulty and dangerous pseudoscience of eugenics.
Let's get it. I got my shovel.
Sir Francis's social theories on who was eugenically worthy spread like wildfire among white intellectuals in almost every developed Western nation. The word eugenics is taken from the Greek root eugenesis, namely good in stock or hereditarily endowed with noble qualities. Galton coined the term in his 1883 book, Inquiries into the Human Faculty and Its Developments.
So before 1883, the term, the definition, the whole thought process of this did not exist.
Correct. The idea was to propose a way to give to the more suitable races. What? The idea was to propose a way to give to the more suitable races. So this was an idea, and they
read the whole statement, then you can fill it in.
Okay, the idea was to propose a way to give the more suitable races a better chance of prevailing speedily over the less suitable. In a 1904
No, I mean, you can go back to, I just wanted you to finish on what his whole premise was. Where you like the idea. So they're telling you now to give to the more suitable races a better chance of prevailing speedily over the less suitable races. but who was dictating who was suitable and who was not?
In a 1904 issue of the American Journal of Sociology, Galton defined eugenics more, I don't even know that word, succinctly. What is that?
Succinctly, in a clear and brief expressed manner. I mean, he expressed it fully.
Okay. And a more succinctly as the science which deals with all influences that improve the inborn qualities of a race, also with those that develop them to the utmost advantage. Galton also coined the phrase nature versus nurture. Okay. What is inborn qualities?
I mean, qualities that's passed in your line, in your gene pool, in your family.
Like what?
Inborn
Like tall,
qualities.
like being tall or something?
Whatever they made it up to be.
Oh.
I mean, and realistically, you can get certain athletic traits
Mhm.
from prior ancestors, but it's still what you do with it that dictates what it becomes.
Got you. Okay. Sir Francis's social theories on who was eugenically worthy spread like wildfire among white intellectuals in almost every developed Western nation. For example, in July of 1912, 1 year after Galton's death, the threat of inferior races polluting the Western body politic was discussed at the First International Congress of Eugenics in London.
They had a whole Western World Conference on this food.
This was in 1912. When was it that
1914, the war.
Plecker attended a lot of well, you know what?
Plecker's time wasn't until the 1920s, 1930s. Plecker is around World War II. This is World War One.
Okay. Sitting in the audience were Britain's Prime Minister Lord Balfour, Winston Churchill, and Charles Darwin's son, Leonard, along with the ambassadors of Greece, France, and wait for it, Norway.
But why would Norway be very important in this eugenics thing?
Right.
Normandy, the Normans.
Man.
Get him, Charles, but not that Charles.
I mean, they flood you in college with Winston Churchill.
Yeah, but these were the people that supported, financed, and helped push this eugenics BS.
Man. During the Progressive Era, 1900s through 1920, a generation of American reformers sought to fix several social problems of the day, which included urban poverty, assimilating the huge number of immigrants coming to American shores, and public health crises such as epidemics, high infant mortality rates, and explosive population growth. Many of these reformers used inappropriate eugenic explanations for their management of those deemed to be socially undesirable, so-called mental defectives, which included those labeled with newly created clinical terms like, imbeciles, idiots, and morons. The blind, deaf, mentally ill, and crippled, orphans, unwed mothers, epileptics, Native Americans, African Americans, foreigners, poor, residents from the mountains and hollows of Appalachia, and many other outsider groups. This is just everybody but them.
Because you have to remember what Benjamin Franklin said. at this time, the people that they considered to be white only came from two places. In his letter, he said the whole rest of the world is swarthy. So at Benjamin Franklin's time, only two nations were considered white. Everybody else was considered a person of color on the planet.
Right.
That's your Italian, your Jews, your Irish, your Germans, your Normans, some of your Franks, some of your Gauls, some of your Spaniards. Think about it, your Spaniards are not even white at this time. They're not considered white. Ooh.
FaceTime lines.
Man. Inferior racists, eugenic theorists concluded, were a drain on the economic, political, and moral health of American life. Some African American intellectuals, too, supported the theory, arguing we should focus on the talented tenth of every race. What?
Again, because you had people who looked like us were the main people pushing the one drop rule. Do your research on it. More melanated people who are in leadership push that rule than we care to think. Now you have to ask yourself why. Who was they really representing? Not
Okay, so I had to find out what the talented tenth meant. And it says the boy used the term the talented tenth to describe the likelihood of 1 in 10 Black men becoming leaders of their race in the world through methods such as continuing their education, writing books, or becoming directly involved in social change.
they was handpicking
Right.
on who they were allowed to do what. You know, talented 10th.
Okay.
I mean, who is he speaking for if he considered himself one of us and he's saying 1 out of every 10? Come on, man.
It's not just that. Just seeing that how that's defined and seeing what that means, I'm thinking about everything that's in competition.
The competition is the illusion. Competition don't
Right.
mean anything when they already telling you they believe only 1 out of 10 will be successful. The competition is created to keep you distracted that it's a setup.
Right.
They're not letting nobody think about it. They already told you since this time that they already believe that only 1 out of 10 is qualified. So it don't matter how many you show up, 1 out of 10 is qualified.
Eugenics offered Americans in positions of power and authoritative scientific language to substantiate their basis against those they feared as dangerous. One of the dirtiest realities of the American eugenics movement is that, with relatively few prominent exceptions, it is difficult to find a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant man or woman of means who did not endorse such theories. As the social Darwinists Herbert Spencer famously appended, it was a matter of the survival of the fittest. Race suicide, a term introduced in 1901 by the University of Wisconsin's sociologist and best-selling author Edward A. Ross, was a concern that captured an American conversation all the way up to the White House. Behind his bully pulpit, the Theodore Roosevelt, repeatedly wrung his hands over the issue.
Again, the most important thing that you should first point out in here, it is difficult to find a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant man or woman of means who did not endorse such theory. Now, when you go back and you realize that these Anglo-Saxon Protestant men and women are the ones that's responsible for your education, your food, your policies, the laws that's enacted. Now, can you see how it was happening? These same Protestants are the ones that gave you your Baptists, your Seventh-day Adventists, your evangelicals. I mean, must we go on? These are the same people that gave you your belief system, that gave you your school books, that made you see the world how they wanted you to see it, man.
Other influential eugenicists who fretted over the American protoplasm included grant makers from both the Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundations, the United States President Calvin Coolidge, David Starr Jordan, the president of Stanford University, psychologist Henry H. Goodar, Senator Henry Cabot Lodge. What's that? Republican, Massachusetts.
Republican, Massachusetts, yeah.
Auto magnate Henry Ford.
Uh-huh.
Inventor of the telephone Alexander Graham Bell.
Liked it by the gram. Let's go.
Botanist Luther Burbank.
Oh, botanists, ain't they growing stuff?
Yes,
Know how to change plants and chemical makeups? We'll leave that alone, though.
Supreme Court Justice
Don't do it.
Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Oh, Supreme Court Justice, they sit back and they determine how the law and the Constitution is interpreted, right?
This is correct.
Okay.
Junior Robert A. Millikan. A Nobel laureate in physics, novelist Uptown Sinclair and Sinclair Lewis, economist William Z. Ripley.
Well, it's finna get good. Who this person popping up now?
Birth control advocate Margaret Sanger.
Hillary Clinton's teacher.
Advocate
Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
Oh, who else is on this list? She couldn't even see people didn't like you.
Advocate for the blind Helen Keller.
Hold it now.
Come on, she was deaf and blind.
And the mute.
Got the nerve to say you don't like melanated people. You can't. Let me hush. I ain't
Hold on. This sound like a rigged voting ballot. Like, what's going on? These dead people.
Hold on. She was deaf and blind and couldn't talk.
And didn't like melanated folks.
Like, oh, your skin feel brown.
So I'm curious.
That is
For real. And what was she doing? She was
dirt or chocolate.
So she was you know what? I'm not gonna go there. Nope.
You did say you hated cooking.
No, I'm just thinking about the signing that was done, the sign language that was used to. Okay. African American scholar W.E. Du Bois. W.E.B.
Hold on, but he was supposed to be for you, but he hanging out with these eugenics that's saying that you were inferior.
Correct.
I ain't taking that book before back that I did in the 3rd grade. It was awesome. I didn't know nothing about this. All right.
But the last name should shake you a little bit.
Hey, now I'm French. My last name is French. Don't do that.
The last person on this list.
Oh, you talking about
should make everybody pay attention.
Oh, I'm going on mute.
And the creator of the wellness movement, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg.
What you eating for breakfast?
Hold on, wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. Say that name again.
Creator of the wellness movement.
Yep. John Harvey Kellogg.
They're great.
Well, I stopped eating Kellogg, any cereal anyways, when I saw that put on the news that they had the employees pissed off peeing in the batch. I just stopped eating cereal altogether.
Oh, well, that's messed up. You ain't have to tell them that.
Okay, my bad. It was all over the news. This was years ago. Like, oh, disgruntled employees. Oh, this is what they're doing. Yeah, I'm good. Nobody eats cereal. Don't bring nothing in this house like it.
Don't even make your own cereal. I don't want to see it.
For real.
I'm proud that you have an assembly line and all this stuff, but no, I don't want it. It looks like cereal.
For real.
Isn't this interesting that all the top names of the fields of that time are behind this movement?
Yeah.
They called them other influential eugenicists.
Mm-hmm.
Next paragraph, fair warning, put on double seat belt, hard hat, and boots.
Ooh, can I read it?
You want to? There's no curse words in it.
Good.
It's gonna make you want to use a couple, but it ain't nothing.
Okay, well then, okay, no, let me read it.
Oh, that's not
The solution, man, okay. The solution of the day was to what? Okay.
Told you I gave fair warning. Strap it down.
Okay.
The solution of the day was to quarantine, cordon off, and prevent these quote-unquote undesirables from contaminating the quote-unquote superior, mostly white, native-born citizens. Did I read that correctly?
There's more.
Moreover, racial groups deemed quote-unquote eugenically superior, specifically white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, were encouraged to reproduce at greater rates, a concept often referred to as positive eugenics.
And how?
Baby boomer. Now tie this into the baby boom years.
Right.
Oh, what you talking about?
They were encouraged to have children constantly to reproduce. Remember, there's an era of these Europeans that known in history as the baby boomers, right?
It is, yeah.
This is the generation that was encouraged to reproduce. Because at this time, what did they do to us? They quarantined us off, put us in what we call the ghetto, isolated us, took away resources, made it hard for us to raise children and reproduce. They telling you what they did. Remember, this is the top of the 1900s. We talking about 1920s. We in the time of W.E.D. Du Bois and all them right now.
Yep. Boy Flecker walking around too.
Mm-hmm.
Those
they just finished what they started.
Mm-hmm. Those adjudged to have quote-unquote inferior genes were discouraged from reproducing through the establishment of quote-unquote negative eugenics, programs such as state-mandated sterilization laws for mental defectives, quote-unquote, restrictions against who could marry whom, birth control policies, harsh adoption laws, and loud nativist calls for laws restricting the entry of swarthy, unkempt, and unassimilable immigrants.
And they telling you this is where they came up with the Planned Parenthood and all that.
Wait a minute, man. That unkempt word, don't they use that for black hair?
Mm-hmm.
You fired or you got to cut your... Okay, hold on. I want to read that again, man. Those adjudged have quote-unquote inferior genes. Those adjudged to have quote-unquote inferior genes were discouraged from reproducing through the establishment of quote-unquote negative eugenics programs, such as state-mandated sterilization laws for quote-unquote mental defectives, restrictions against who could marry whom, birth control policies, harsh adoption laws, and loud nativist calls for laws restricting the entry of quote-unquote swarthy and unkempt and unassimilable immigrants.
And people will ask, what you mean by adoption laws? Have you ever noticed when it comes to adoption, it's a lot more easier for somebody else to adopt one of us than it is for one of us to adopt one of their children?
Black baby.
Think about that. You got to jump through a flaming loop to adopt a child that don't look like you.
I'll have one of those white babies. No, it doesn't work.
Even the cost to adopting is different.
It's different.
It's like housing. I mean, everything's gonna be different. You can get the same APR.
But look with who they talking about. Swarthy. What is swarthy?
Yeah, what's swarthy and what's unkempt? I started hearing that when the hair issues was making it to the news. Like that's what they're using in the workforce, in the workplace. Okay, you can't come in here with your hair unkempt. Who?
I mean, when you look up swarthy, what's the definition of swarthy? Dark skinned.
Oh man, that sounds like a people. A whole lot of.
So,
In essence,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what were you gonna say?
So unkempt, it says
You were
it's an
looking it up,
adjective, especially of a person having an untidy or disheveled appearance.
Disheveled, probably, right? Disheveled.
Okay, disheveled. What did I say?
Disheveled, but it's cool. Either way,
disheveled.
So you're pretty.
Basically, you don't look European. You don't talk European. You don't dress European. You don't live European.
You don't walk around with your wrist up. You don't smoke your cigarettes upside down.
The
underhand. Is that it for unkempt?
Could have summed up, unless you got more.
Rough, unpolished, not combed if it's referring to hair.
Yeah, basically, you was not of European stock. You was not of Anglo-Saxon stock.
Yep.
That's basically what they mean, because they're determining who get in and who get out. Who's in, who's out. They're determining that.
So in essence, eugenics offered Americans in positions of power in authoritative scientific language to substantiate their bases against those they feared as dangerous. In essence, eugenics offered Americans in positions of power and authoritative scientific language to substantiate their biases against those they feared as dangerous. Indeed, few of the quote unquote social eugenics policies had a greater impact than the Immigration Restriction Act of 1924, which blocked the entry of millions of Eastern and Southern European and Asian immigrants seeking refuge on our shores for the following 40 years.
So this went from
6 to 64, right around them self-identified days.
Right, but this also went from this escalated to from look, we're different to you're dangerous and I'm not. This escalated.
And let them use language to determine or to substantiate their biases against people they thought were dangerous. So that, I mean, pretty much get to do what you want with that one. Look at my wife. How many millions of them died or lived tortured lives in their native lands because of this stringent and prejudiced policy is difficult to enumerate. One of the biggest fans of the American eugenics movement was Adolf Hitler, the chancellor of Nazi Germany.
Oh boy.
This guy. When the world discovered the role eugenics played in Hitler's campaign to cleanse the Third Reich of its quote-unquote unfit, it drummed a final nail into the eugenics movement coffin.
How? How did it put the final nail in it and people still push this eugenics to this day?
Just stop talking about it, okay? Just stop talking about it. Go away when y'all stop talking about it. Once the theory of an armchair population biologist, eugenics too quickly transmogrified into a racist and harmful evidence base for ridding nations of those the dominant society did not like or fear. The problem, of course, was that the evidence base was false and poorly constructed.
So this is why when I talk to people who are from other countries, when they talk about the separation between light and dark,
they turned it into a survival of the fittest.
right.
And what you mean, and what they mean by that is this. They made it so you could see the world how they see it. They made you fight each other for scraps, to be a part of their social club. Because right now, what are the majority of people fighting over? To be accepted by these people. I mean, let's keep it 100. They're fighting to be accepted. They're fighting to get their piece, their crumbs from the pie, by adopting a dangerous, falsely, poorly constructed belief. I mean, don't a large percent of the population see a person of dark skin and automatically assume you come from Africa? Where does that come from? Who planted that thought? Who passed that along? When by their own admission, they wasn't bringing people in from that continent at that time. We know right now that you didn't get a bunch of these people until what, 1965? Is when you started getting over 400,000 people from the continent that they call Africa today. Then you get another mass migration in the 80s. So again, if they're not letting all these people in the country, they have to explain, where do all these melanated people come from then?
Tell me where.
Think about it. They locked Asians and melanated Europeans out of the country for over 40 years. So if you're not bringing none of them people here, where do we come from? How we get here? I mean, we can continue and break it all the way down.
All right. So the last paragraph, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. If Francis Galton is remembered at all, it should be poorly, despite his many other intellectual contributions. Some consider eugenics to be merely the weird step-uncle of modern scientifically grounded genetics. Yet this bit of history reminds us to constantly evaluate and test our theories for evidence of racism and prejudice before implementing them and harming the innocent.
Which is weird to me if you know that the dangers of this and what it did, it's just like what they did with the Walter Plecker situation. You know how many people it harmed. You can see the dangers of it. You admit that it needs to change, but you do nothing to change it. And knowing that he learned from his cousin, Charles Darwin, why do they even still talk about this dude like he did something when basically everything he gave us was a lie? I mean, any thoughts on it so far? I mean, what y'all feelings on what we went through?
Some people would like to say that this is like localized, even like with the Walter Plecker letters was localized to Virginia Indians. But my question is, doesn't this spread across the nation?
The world.
The surnames, people traveling, you know what I'm saying? People getting sent away or leaving an area. It's not just localized to Virginia Indians or one little population of we got to get rid of this group here. It's spreading with surnames and bloodlines.
So,
Hmm?
all right. So, when Walter Pleckert said he was going back to 1853, couldn't it very well be possible that there were people who came from other countries, that migrated from other countries, that were put under the category of
Yes. I mean, I can't. You don't even have to finish it.
okay.
Jews, Italians, Irish. A lot of these people, when they came to the Americas, were not considered white. They were considered people of color. Used, just like it was said last night. We don't even have to work too hard to show this. We just use their own evidence against them. We know that they blocked people from coming in this country. We read that they didn't let Africans start coming over until when? 1965. To the point they can tell you how many and where they went. Get Benjamin Franklin's letter, and he told you only 2 countries were considered Anglo. So if only these 2 countries are considered Anglo, every other country on the planet would be considered a country of what? Color. White back then does not mean what you think white means today. A lot of these people just became white. What, Mexicans became white again, what, in the 80s?
This is usually where Gabrielle gets caught clicking.
No, I was on mute. So, here's the thing. So here's a thought and here's a question. There are so many people out there who, if they don't have their genealogy, if they're not doing their genealogy, they very well, and let me not use that word. They could be thinking that there's something that they're not. All across the board.
Correct. And if you don't do your genealogy, you guessing. You can't, anybody who tells you they can look at somebody and tell you where they come from, get away from them. Like far, far away.
Yeah, lightning do be striking twice sometimes. So you might have missed it the first time, but you might want to whistle and Dixie down the road away from that person.
Because that's the same type of thinking that got us in this situation now. People of all land masses, I'm finna say this again. People of all land masses come from the lightest of light to the darkest of dark. When are we gonna realize when we talk about this colorism, this pale skin, this dark skin, that's what we were taught.
You know what I just thought about? Not just the colorism, separating people by the complexion of their skin, but also people who sided. And when you take a side, you start to say and do things that agree with the side that you take on, right?
Yeah, what did he tell us last night in a lot of these cases? It was the defense mechanism. Let's play this out right now. If this is playing out right now, you're able to identify. You got 3 brothers and sisters that can't. Most people in the case, what naturally happens? Or, well, me and mine, we okay. They'll be all right. That's what really happened. Family members turned on each other for survival. They turned it into survival of the fittest. Those of us who was able to pass white, we went on and passed as white and lived as Europeans and left our melanated brothers and sisters out there to fend for themselves. Nothing more, nothing less. Because ask yourself now, If you're light enough to pass and they came to you right now and they telling you it's either you white or you're gonna get treated like this. If you and your children can pass for white, are you gonna let them get treated like melanated people, or you gonna get the benefits? Let's keep it 100. Anybody saying, oh no, stop, don't even fix your mouth to even tell the story. If your children on the line, you gonna do what's best for them. So if that means you get to identify as white to save them, didn't some of our family members send our lighter relatives off to people to live so they can get a better chance?
Come on now.
Didn't a lot of our ancestors straighten their hair to try to look more European? Isn't it 2020 and we got melanated people all in our 80 and different islands bleaching themselves so they can look European? Let's stop playing these games.
So sad.
These people gave us this and we adopted it. We made this effectively work because we bought into it. We had melanated people telling us this. You got W.E.B. Du Bois up here, a part of this. Looking just like you. And got the nerve to tell you, oh, only 1 out of 10 of us is gonna make it. So if you tell somebody that from a child, you tell one of us that from a child, and that's all you ever hear. When things don't go right in their life, what do they accept? Look at most of us on how we were thought.
You know,
Oh man, it's the way it's supposed to be. The system against me, the man, because that's what you were taught and you adopted it and believed it.
Ooh, what you gonna do?
And what's so sad, they're not even hiding what they did because they are so secure in how they did it that they can tell you what they did and we still won't change. That's the sad part. That they can tell us directly to our face, tap dancing, juggling, and we still won't change.
Give them a standing ovation at the end of that.
Look at how many families had to do this. Like he even told you about tribes. How many tribes had to basically cleanse out all melanation just to keep their land? How many tribes lost everything they had because they had tribal members that was a little bit darker? So by association, they took everything. You can see what happened. Put yourself in that situation. For every adult that can hear, you have children, you have a decision to make. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just showing everyone how this happened. And if we're not careful, we're gonna do it to ourselves again.
Facts. When I think twice, I think not.
Mic check 1 2. Can we get some ones in the chat just to make sure that the volume and everything is still there?
2 2 2. Can y'all hear me?
Sorry about that, call came through. But yeah, it's
oh, the other chat is for Twitch.
Yeah, one chat is the Twitch chat and the other one is the chat on the website. And we're just waiting for the update for the global chat.
Oh, okay.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can we be heard? Mic check 1 2 1 2.
I hear it playing back on Twitch.
Yeah, I hear it playing on the website.
But yeah, I mean, it's like everybody trying to call at the same time. But yeah, again, it shows that this was something that was created for a purpose, for a reason, to remove you. Because again, if there's no Indians, if they can sit here and say there's no Indians left, then that takes them off the hook from honoring any treaties. And the sad part about it is we have to make sure that we stop helping them, that we stop doing the job for them, that we stop doing the work for them, because we remove more of ourselves than they do now. And I'm gonna say it again, we remove more of ourselves than they do now. And probably remove more of us than they ever have. I mean, any thoughts from the panel? I see everybody very, very quiet this rise.
I mean, okay. With everything that, all right. The truth is the truth. And I mean, regardless of what that truth is, I mean, it's better to know than to not know. It's better to know the truth. And it's like, okay, everything may not be great or good, or may not feel good, or it may settle. It may take a minute to settle, but knowing the truth is better than not knowing and contributing to pushing something that can potentially hurt you and others.
I agree. I mean, because you can even see in history of different groups fighting to be considered white. But if you're fighting to be considered white, isn't that justifying the black category? Because it is duality.
It is.
That's funny that you said that, because the one I was looking at the table of contents of this book that I'm trying to share with y'all, and duality, yeah, was definitely what I just looked at. I'm going on mute.
It's just like how they have white supremacy, then they turn around and finance black supremacy and give it to you, and you think it's doing something, when it's just given to you to justify the other half. Look up the black supremacist groups and the white supremacist groups. You know what you're going to find out that's very interesting? They're financed by the same entities. I wonder why that is. I mean, think about it. You have a group that believes in eugenics, and W.E.P. Du Bois is a part of it. So what is that telling you about him and his history? Did he agree to go along, to be part of that 1/10 Did he deem himself that 1 out of 10 melanated males to be successful? I mean, seriously. And I'm still stuck on the Helen Keller thing, but yeah, how? Can somebody explain
Who
how that works?
Can't talk and can't hear, somehow figured out a way to sign language hate.
And if you think about what these people was doing, they was perfecting a way on how to teach hate. Look at the people that was on this list. Look at what they're responsible for in history. Look at what they left behind. These people planted the seeds for hate. This hate is a taught, learned behavior. We had to be taught to hate like this. We had to be taught to hate each other, to identify each other off of our physical differences. We had to be taught that. Because in one of our families, again, in one generation of our families, we can have the lightest of the light to the darkest of the dark.
Right.
All my brothers and sisters, we ain't the same complexion. Me and my baby brother, we probably lighter than all of them. But that doesn't change anything. Think about it, genetically, we are all 98% the same. The only thing difference between us is 2%. And that's the part that gives us our height, our weight, our physical features. I mean, what's next? We're gonna teach animals how to fight each other over their fur colors?
It's a learned behavior.
Because last I remember, if we all take our skin off, we all gonna be bleeding the same color around here dead.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, nature's void. No, he did more than bought the lie. W.E.B., he pushed the lie. He spoon-fed it to us. He used institutions to train a lot more of our people to go out into the world and spread this foolishness. I mean, how many of us in our direct families alone, direct families, same mother, same father, but share different physical features of different people around the planet? I mean, again, crazy. Learned and taught behavior. But the good thing about it is, through research and studying, we can see what was done, what was left behind, and how it was done. And the importance of that, because now we know how it was done, what was done, where it was done. We are now aware of what to look out for, so we no longer fall for the tail with a banana in the tailpipe. I mean, you don't know how to watch for the trap if you don't know there's a trap. Now we know there's a trap.
Exactly.
That the whole thing has always been about them creating their Anglo-Saxon Protestant nation. That the United States of America has always been a Protestant nation. I mean, if there's no more thoughts on that nobody has to put in, we can go ahead and get out early today since we have a lot to get out the way this Friday.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts, Gabrielle?
Yeah. continue on your genealogical journey. Know who you are so that no one can tell you who you are. It is more evident as each day goes by how important genealogy is for self and for others. Just knowing, you know, your past to understand how you came to be, to know all the events and all the situations and all the people that came together to bring you here to this point, to bring you into existence so that you can know and have a choice to make a difference. So genealogy is absolutely important. And based off of whatever it is that you find in your genealogy, on a positive note, take it as all these events, all these people came together so that I can be here to know these things and positively make a change, make a difference, no matter how small it is. So peace to the panel, peace to the chat. Shout out to Double Cousin for these wise words. Appreciate it. These first set of quotes I found very interesting because what was consistent about them is that they referred to children. And so when we take the time to realize that when we change ourselves, change how we think, change how we speak, change how we interact, when we have children, those children see us, they hear us, they mimic us. So what we do and what we teach them ultimately gets passed along. So that being said, racism is a grown-up disease, and we should stop using our kids to spread it.
All right.
Racism
Please say that again.
Racism is a grown-up disease, and we should stop using our kids to spread it. Racism is a form of hate. We pass it to our young people. When we do that, we are robbing children of their innocence. I think racism is something that is passed on and taught to our kids, and that's a shame. Excuse me. And I actually like this one. The moment a little boy is concerned with which is a jay and which is a sparrow, he can no longer see the birds or hear them sing. So yeah, everyone have a great weekend. Have a beautiful day. We got the census coming up April 1st, 10-year census day. Make yourself count so that you can count. Get actively involved in your community. Know how. There are websites out there for your city, for your county, and for your state. Go on Facebook. You can watch videos for city council meetings, even talking with your neighbors. Just get actively involved. It's better to do something now than not do something later and then question why. So yeah, again, peace to the panel, peace to the chat, and peace to the silent majority.
All right. What you got, No Supply?
Well, I ain't got no more cuss words, so my apologies to the chat and the sensitive ears this rising. Officer Laverne Hooks did not scream loud enough and let me know. I got a GIF and a few photos for you, Gabrielle, and we done.
I don't know what to say.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Please don't do that.
Okay. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or corrections, please hit us up at autonomousassembly@gmail.com. Phone lines are open always, most of the time. Sometimes 24 to 48 hours to 72 hours a day. But yeah, hit us up if you got any questions. I know that it's Friday and it's a great day. So have a great one. Peace, y'all.
All right. Thanks again, Gabrielle and No Sellout, for the work that you put in every rising to make the show what it is. Thank the active chat and the silent majority for all parties coming together to make the show possible. And again, this information on eugenics and race. It's funny that the world knows that this is false. The world knows that this is man-made. But by people knowing, you see not one effort to lift a finger to fix the damages that was done. So first was called by these false beliefs. My brothers and sisters, we are armed with this information now on what was done to our ancestors, how it was done, where it was done. And we have the ability to use genealogy and use their documented records to prove our case. But again, it does not happen until we start becoming the keepers of our stories, our histories, our records, to make sure that they cannot be changed, that we can no longer be erased, reclassified, to make sure that our future generations are not led further and further and further away from their homeland. So my brothers and sisters, let's make sure that for every bit of information that we come across, that we do our due diligence to spread it. That we make sure that we make it our responsibility to inform as many as we possibly can, to help as many as our people as we possibly can. So let's continue to keep the great work going on in our communities. Let's continue to keep pushing the envelope on defining who we are and what we will be. Let's continue to keep going through these records of genealogy to the day that all our families are aware of where they come from. Let's continue to build so our children would know that when they come of age, that they can follow their dreams, that they do not have to start from scratch with nothing. Let's make it our business to let our brothers and sisters who are less fortunate know that we are here for them, and that when they are in need, that they can lean on our shoulders until they're better and able to do it for themselves again. Until we link up again for the next Rising Show, brothers and sisters, remember we love you, and peace.
Peace, everybody.
Yeah, basically, you're doing a good job. I just realized I was subscribed to your channel.
You're live. I don't want to interrupt nothing.
Merchandise is not available. Peace, y'all.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.